You're probably wondering what climate change has to do with my house. I know because I thought the same thing before my research. You're not alone. When I learned the reasons, it gave me goosebumps. If you live in America, it definitely concerns you. Trust me. Let me tell you something that will sound crazy at first. Right now, as we speak, your home may be worth $50,000, $100,000, or maybe even $200,000 less than you think. Not because of the economy, not because of interest rates, but because of something no one wants to talk about. Climate change is a disaster quietly approaching our doorstep. The First Street Foundation released a report in February 2025 that will scare every American homeowner. Climate change is poised to wipe $1.47 trillion in property value from the U.S. housing market. Yes, $1 trillion. I want to share with you the thoughts that woke me up at night. Most homeowners have absolutely no idea this is coming. They watch home prices rise, feel richer on paper, and don't even realize they're sitting in the middle of a bubble that's already starting to burst. If you own a home in Florida, Louisiana, California, Texas, or, to be honest, most coastal states, you need to hear what I have to say. Because what's coming isn't just a correction. This is a complete revaluation of American real estate, and it's happening whether you're ready or not. I research and compile all the information related to real estate and share it with you. Before we begin, you can support me by liking my video and subscribing. It's completely free. It motivates me. I can't wait to bring you more quality content. Let me know your thoughts in the comments section of the video. I want to see who along the coastline might be affected by this disaster. Maybe I can find a better solution for you. Let's get started. Chapter 1. The Hidden Crisis. Why no one sees it coming. Here's what most people don't understand. When we talk about climate change, we think of hurricanes, wildfires, floods. Yes, these are terrifying. But the real killer? Not the disaster itself. CBS News reported in March 2024 that nearly half of all homes in the U.S., representing $22 trillion in housing value, are now at risk of severe or extreme damage due to climate-related events. This is where things get a bit more complicated. Homes affected by the climate crisis, they aren't priced for this risk. Nature Climate Change published a study showing that American real estate is overvalued by between $121 billion and $237 billion solely due to unpriced flood risk. This doesn't even include wildfires, heat, hurricanes, or drought. Now let's do the math. You bought a house valued at $400,000. However, if the market truly priced in the real risk, flood, fire, storm, its value might be only $280,000. You've lost $120,000 in equity that never actually existed. So you've immediately lost $120,000 on the house you bought. That's a huge number for investors. If you bought a house in the last few years, I know this figure probably makes your stomach turn. Because you worked hard to save that down payment, get that mortgage approved, and finally own something. And now I'm telling you that the value might be an illusion. But here's what you need to understand. This isn't your fault. You bought into a big lie. You were told home values always go up. Real estate is the safest investment. This coastal lifestyle is the American dream. No one told you the American dream has been repriced for a climate reality no one wants to accept. You're watching this video because you're more inquisitive than the 99% who don't know this information. Chapter 2. Insurance. Apocalypse. The triggering event. So why is this happening now? Why 2025? Because the insurance that hides all this risk is collapsing. Axios reported that insurance premiums are expected to increase by 29.4% nationwide by 2055. It cannot be said that the increase will be equal across all states. Completely uncertain rates of increase have been given. They are looking at increases of 50%, 70%, even 100% over the next few years. Now let's think realistically and do some math. You're in Miami. In 2022, you bought a nice apartment for $550,000. Your insurance at the time? Maybe $2,800 per year. Today, some Miami homeowners are paying $12,000, $15,000, even $20,000 a year for insurance. That is, if you can buy a home. Because here's the interesting part. Insurance companies are leaving. State Farm, Allstate, Farmers. In some cases, they're pulling out of Florida, Louisiana, and California entirely. They're not stupid. They looked at the data and said, we can't make money here anymore. The risk is too high, and they moved away from these areas. A Columbia Business School study confirms that insured property and casualty losses have exceeded $100 billion globally for 5 consecutive years, with the US accounting for 2/3 of that. So what happens when you can't get insurance? You can't get a mortgage. Banks won't lend on uninsured properties. And suddenly your $550,000 apartment? No one can buy it because no one can finance it. When you want to sell, you might only find a new buyer at $400,000, which is $150,000 below market value. Hopefully. This isn't a housing market. It's a hostage situation. If you've seen your insurance premiums skyrocket, share in the comments where you live and how much your premiums have increased so other homeowners and regions can learn too. I want to hear what's happening in your neighborhood because data is one thing, real stories are another. Chapter 3. States in the crosshairs. Who gets hit first? Let's look at a single scenario, because this doesn't affect everyone equally. Some states are ground zero, others are relatively safe. You need to know which category you fall into. Danger zone. Florida. The canary in the coal mine. Florida isn't just at risk, it's already collapsing. First Street data shows that Florida properties are overvalued by more than $50 billion. That's more than any other state. Think of it this way. You go to the store and there are 10 pieces of gum left, but there are 15 people who want that gum. When that happens, it's normal for the price of gum to go from $1 to $1.50. That's how the supply and demand cycle works. If you go to the store next door to buy gum, you'll be joining 3 other people who want to buy the 10 pieces of gum, meaning you'll get the same gum for 50 cents instead of $1.50. I've given a very simple example here. The housing market works on the same principle. Miami, Jacksonville, Tampa. These are no longer just hurricane risks. Rising sea levels mean even a Category 1 storm can cause devastating flooding. And as insurance companies flee, people are starting to realize this. I spoke with real estate agents who said buyers have disappeared in South Florida. People aren't giving up on living there because they don't want to live there, but because they can't afford to insure themselves there. Louisiana, Insurance Desert New Orleans ranks among the top 5 metropolitan areas for insurance premium increases. But it's worse than that. After repeated hurricanes, Katrina, Laura, Ida, insurance companies gave up. Many homeowners now rely on government-backed last resort insurers and pay premiums that consume 10 to 15% of their home's annual value. You can't build wealth when insurance costs more than your mortgage. Mortgage value must always exceed insurance costs. Don't let your investment go to waste. California. Wildfire. Migration. California faces a different problem. Wildfires. According to Redfin, more than half of U.S. homes are now in high fire risk areas, nearly double the rate in the 1980s. Paradise, California, was literally wiped out in 2018. Santa Rosa, Malibu, countless living spaces turned to ash. Insurance companies looked at the devastation caused by the disasters and said, "We're done." If you live in the wildland-urban interface, those beautiful tree-shaded hillside communities, you're a prime target. The reason is that wildfires can swiftly destroy your home. Texas. Double threat. Texas is taking hits from both sides. Coastal areas face hurricanes and flooding, with Houston, Corpus Christi, and Galveston as prime examples. Inland areas face extreme heat and drought, with Austin and San Antonio as prime examples. The biggest disaster resulting from heat and drought: forest fires. The report identifies about a dozen counties in Texas where home values could drop by half due to climate impacts. Let it sink in, split in two. Your $300,000 home becomes worth $150,000. Not decades from now, within the next 5 to 10 years as insurance prices hit the market. Arizona and Nevada, water crisis. These states are literally facing a slower burn. Extreme heat and disappearing water sources. Lake Mead is at historic lows. Phoenix hits 110+ degrees nonstop for weeks. People are still moving there because it's affordable. But Realtor.com found that 629,000 more people moved to extreme heat counties in 2021 to 2022 compared to the previous period. Doesn't that sound terrible to you? Over 600,000 people are moving to a region with high temperatures that are increasing year after year, continuing their lives there. Meanwhile, they are consuming the region's scarce resources even more, causing it to become a desert. Can you find a customer who will accept living there for the house you bought? They are walking into a trap. Because when water restrictions come in, when insurance premiums reflect heat-related risks, these affordable homes become unsellable. If you're in any of these states right now, I want you to understand, this isn't fear-mongering. This is math. And math doesn't care about your feelings or your sense of fairness. It's just talking about pure reality. Chapter 4. Safe Harbors. Where climate winners live. Here's the hopeful part. Because not every place is doomed. Some regions will actually thrive in this climate migration. According to First Street's report, 5.2 million Americans will relocate due to climate risks by 2025 alone. By 2055, over 5 million people will be forced to migrate within the United States. Everyone should be aware of this when making investments. So where will they migrate? The Midwest, the new promised land Columbus, Ohio, Madison, Wisconsin, Minneapolis, Minnesota. Cities that have been losing population for decades are suddenly attracting climate refugees. Because there is virtually no flood risk, no forest fires, no hurricanes, there is affordable housing and job opportunities. The interesting thing is that climate change is making these places more livable. Milder winters, longer growing seasons. Real estate analysts are already seeing prices rise in these climate paradise cities as buyers flee the coasts. You can check the noticeable increases on websites listing homes and land for sale in the housing market. The Great Lakes region, Duluth, Minnesota. Traverse City, Michigan. Buffalo, New York. These cities sit on 20% of the world's fresh water. In a warming world, this liquid is gold. These cities don't have water shortages yet. They have mild summers and winters. They have richly scenic landscapes, and property values haven't caught up with their new reality yet. If you want to buy and are thinking long-term, 20, 30 years, the Great Lakes cities are perfect for you. Appalachian region, Asheville, North Carolina, even though the recent flood disaster showed that even safe areas carry risk. Roanoke, Virginia. Parts of Tennessee. Still considered a safe area. Higher elevations. Very low chance of hurricanes. Limited risk of forest fires. And stunning natural beauty that attracts both remote workers and retirees. These areas aren't perfect. No place is 100% safe, but they are much safer than coastal regions. Chapter 5. What you can actually do. Okay, now you know the problem. You know which states will cause you problems and which ones are safe. So what do you actually do with this information? If you are already in a high-risk area, your first option is to get out of there. That means selling. I know it sounds dramatic. But the reality is, if you're in South Florida, on the Louisiana coast, or in Wildfire, California, your exit window at current values is closing. Every year, more buyers become aware of the risk. Insurance gets harder to find, and your pool of buyers shrinks. Fewer people can afford to buy. If you can sell now, take the equity, and move to a climate-safe area, you may be making the smartest financial decision of your life. Of course, that's just the first option. Option 2, adapt and fortify. If you're staying, you need to make your property climate resilient. If you're in a flood zone, elevate. If you're in wildfire country, implement fire-resistant landscaping, backup power, store water at home to protect against prolonged water outages and to safeguard your home from fire. Yes, it's expensive, but it's cheaper than losing everything. Also, document everything, because when you sell, proving you've adapted will be important. Option 3. Understand your real risk. Go to floodfactor.com. Enter your address. Get real flood, fire, heat, and wind risk ratings. Then compare this to your insurance costs. If your premiums are low, but your risk is high, you are receiving a subsidy, and this subsidy is temporary. If you want to buy, do not buy in high-risk areas unless you are paying cash and view it as a lifestyle choice, not an investment. Of course, this is a suggestion. Do not make your own decision without doing your research. Look for climate migration destinations. Learn about cities where the climate does not destroy quality of life, but improves it. Check insurance costs before making an offer, not after. Because a $300,000 home with $15,000 annual insurance is not a $300,000 home, it is a $450,000 home over a 30-year mortgage. If you're just watching, pay attention, because even if you don't own property, this affects you. When property values fall in coastal areas, local governments lose tax revenue. School funding is cut. Infrastructure collapses. Economic opportunities disappear. And when 55 million Americans migrate over the next 30 years, it reshapes everything: real estate, business, politics, culture. Conclusion: the choice is yours. We're nearing the end. The U.S. housing market is sitting on a $1.47 trillion climate bubble. Insurance companies are fleeing high-risk areas. Homeowners in Florida, Louisiana, California, and Texas face financial ruin. And most people have no idea this is happening. But you do, because you watched this video. And now you have a choice. You can ignore it. Hope it doesn't affect you. Cross your fingers that your home holds its value. Or you can take action. Sell if you must. Adapt if you stay. If you're buying, make smart choices. Because one thing is certain: the climate doesn't negotiate. It doesn't care about your equity, your dreams, or your retirement plans. When the time comes, the last lake will dry up and the last tree will be cut down. Beyond that, we have no savings but reality. But here's the empowering part. You're not helpless. Knowledge is power. And now you know what most people don't. First Street's data shows that informed buyers and sellers are already trying to adapt. Markets where climate risk is transparently disclosed are seeing more rational pricing. People are making smart choices. You can be one of them. Comment below about your situation and whether you're worried about your home's value. I want to hear from you because those who respond will contribute significantly to the discussion. Subscribe to this channel because we'll continue to follow this crisis as it unfolds. And believe me, it will intensify before it improves. I'll compile and update you as new information comes in. You need to turn on notifications to stay informed. Share this video with everyone you know who owns property in a high-risk area, because they need to know. And the sooner they learn, the more options they'll have. The climate bubble is real. The question is, will you get out before it bursts?